All right, today we're going to jump into the metaverse in a big way, and that is talking about Illuvium and their upcoming land sale, what that might mean to you, how you're going to do it, what's the process, what's it going to do to the overall token price. We're going to reveal all those things today. My name is Paul Barrett. Welcome back to TechPath. Let's get into it today. Before we get started, though, let's always thank our sponsors. This, of course, is iTrust Capital. If you are not aware of iTrust Capital, man, you've been under a rock. This is the place to go for an IRA with crypto. It's the #1 crypto IRA platform out there, bar none. We are a partner with them, and you know, they've been a great partner to the channel. But the cool thing about iTrust is that they've really ramped up their security. They've packaged a deal with Fireblocks. They've packaged a deal with a ton of different applications out there to really kind of advance the security elements behind how they're holding crypto assets. The other aspect that you can do, of course, is 24/7 investing. They've also dropped their fees. There is no monthly fees. Now all you're doing is paying for your in self-directed trades, which is 1% transaction fees. You can of course get all of the core tokens: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, Chainlink, Cardano, and even trade physical gold as well. One thing to do, and I talk about this in our wealth building videos, is there are 3 ways to go about wealth building. First way is to understand long-term wealth building, and the only way to do that is IRAs. Unless you are maybe looking at other aspects that are stocks that are growing at a much slower rate, other than maybe some of the FANG stocks. But when you look at what's happening in the crypto space, completely different, and can they even keep up over time? Because when you look at IRAs, this is like a 10-year play for most people, and the likelihood of your assets going to the moon on that is real. So it's a great product. Here's the other advantage: you're going to get $100 off you get $100 of Bitcoin when you use our link in the description below. So just click that link right there, and you're going to be in on iTrust, and you're going to love it all. All right, so let's get into Illuvium today and talk a little bit about what Illuvium is, because I think a lot of times people don't really understand the full scope of what Illuvium is trying to do. It's the first AAA game on Ethereum built on Immutable X, IMX. It's a fusion between an open world exploration game and a PvP battle game. It's also been in development since 2020 and has been built by a worldwide team of more than 40 people, including the co-founders and serial entrepreneurs and early cryptocurrency adopter Kieran Warwick, and his experienced game designer, which is Aaron Warwick. That is his brother. And then also, coincidentally, they are also brothers of Kane Warwick, who is the co-founder of the DeFi platform Synthetics. They have 2 tokens. One is a governance token, which is the ILV. We'll be talking about that one specifically today. And then also SILV, which essentially is an escrowed token, in-game asset only. It is nothing like any other escrowed token out there. This is not something that you're going to be trading on. It is a true in-game asset, so it cannot be withdrawn from the game and is not represented by a blockchain-based asset. So that's kind of the differences there. We are going to get into some of the gameplay. I want to jump over to, and by the way, if you have not dropped into Illuvium's documents, I want to show you guys just a regular one of their websites, which is just docs.illuvium.io. If you just go to this page, you'll be able to really get a dive in on what they are, the game overview, what the goal of each game is really designed to go into, how their expansion is going to take place, a little bit about their DAO governance, which is the Illuminati. I love that. And then the tokenomics, which really get into the real details of how and why Illuvium is such a great potential opportunity right now, especially as we see a lot of this gameplay and also their land strategies start to come to reality. I think that's going to be a big thing. And of course, you can take a look at their roadmap. The tech is really the core element behind it. They have, just as I mentioned earlier, an awesome team. And then the key partners, which again, key partners to me is one of the ways that I really determine whether or not a project is worth its weight in gold. And one of the things when you look at Delphi Digital in here, you've got Moonwell Capital or Moonwell Ventures, Lotus Capital coming in, and then even Bitscale and Yield Guild Games, which is one of the biggest guilds out there in terms of digital assets and what's happening out there. Then you've got, look at this, you've got Richard Ma, CEO QuantStamp, you got the founder of Aave, Stani, you've got the founder of 1inch, the founder of Barnbridge, I mean, this is amazing in terms of just the lock, including Sebastian Bourget, who is the founder of Sandbox. So just a lineup, I think, in general, just when you're dealing with a world-class asset, even when you look at gaming and some of those things, you're looking at AAA gaming, a lot of times you'll look at the executives and the devs themselves. That's what's happening, I think, in blockchain and especially in Metaverse, where we're starting to see really the cream rise to the top. I wanted to jump over to their Twitter feed. Let me zoom in on this one. Witness the elemental clash of the ethereal illuvials across a vast and varied biomes. You can kind of see just some of the graphics that they are putting into this project. And this, to me, is one of the reasons why Illuvium will be unbelievable. Let me jump out on this on full screen just so you guys can see what they're doing here. And I think as we continue to see this kind of blockchain game evolution, especially around some of the key partners or key players, I should say, this is really going to, I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on the Metaverse players. And this is the thing that concerns me a little bit when we get into these low cap gyms. Let me exit out of that. These low cap gyms, and also when we get into these riskier projects, because a lot of people do not have that kind of resource. And I think that's going to be a challenge that we'll start to see. Now, will it happen early in 2022? I don't think so. I think we're still a little bit away from that occurring before we start to see that separation of the pack. Obviously, you're going to see Sand in there, Gala most likely. You'll see Animoca with a whole roster of brands and concepts that will come out of that, and then, of course, including Illuvium on IMX. So I think there's a lot here. Another is exploring the heat of Crimson Wastes. Are you ready for 2022? This looks to be one of their sneak peeks, which I think, again, let me zoom out on that one. Again, just continued gameplay footage right here, which is where it gets, versus what you just saw in the trailer, where it gets really intriguing, because to me, this kind of gameplay footage is, I mean, now we're really getting into true AAA gaming here. And this at the blockchain level. Sometimes I just get lost in Illuvium, just in finding what they're doing. And I love the graphics, the elements, and what they're really trying to build overall. So good for them. I think this is going to be a big one. I think you guys, if you're an investor or looking at going in this direction, this is one you can't definitely go wrong with. Another thing they've got coming is Zero, which is Illuvium IZ. A lot of people call it Illuvium Zero. It's the mobile aspect. I believe it's only available on Android right now. Quick review on the YouTube video real quick. Let me kind of pop that one up right there. And you can kind of see what they are looking to do with the mobile version of where this is going. This, of course, is still yet to come. So it's pre-alpha, as you can see right here. And a lot of the assets right up here in the top that you're going to start being able to earn, digital assets. This will get back to SILV. And really kind of just, again, I think this, once we start to see mobile move in this direction, I think that is another key component of some of the things that will make Illuvium just a rock star. Before we get into the land, just as a reminder, I want to hit on a couple other things. Covered game footage for you guys. The ETH and SLV is going to be used as payment methods for land, but not in one transaction. That's one of the things we'll cover a little bit in the explaining the upcoming land sale. It's a little bit complicated. I'll try to do our best. We are going to have, I hope, Kieran on the show to talk a little bit more in depth about what's happening in the land sale itself. But Illuvium Zero, the land sale, we're going to get into staking V2, Illuvitar, the sale there, and then also survival mode and beta. Let's jump into some of those right here. And that first one is this one, IZ. So as you can see, this is kind of the land component. There's going to be 3 stages to this. And the stages you're going to see here are this stage right here, which essentially is going to be the lower cost stage for most normal people to jump into. And then it's going to start to elevate in price until you get into this super premium front tier out in the beautiful northern lands of Illuvia. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing as we start to see, all these land elements in terms of pricing. Remember, the first tier 1 on pricing, and I'll go through that, or on sale, the land sale itself, is really where most of the transactions are going to occur. And that's going to be your chance to get land in Illuvium. Let's get over here. I want to talk a little bit about their staking console and the dashboard. So a few mechanisms. smoother UX. Let me show you this one. It's a little bit, zoom out a little bit, but this is really beautiful. I mean, this is the kind of, at least for me, when I think of a game like Illuvium, this is what I would want to see. And I think they have not sold us short on both graphics, interface, interest of information. You can kind of see this whole graph here on their estimated start and end date. You've got your distributed amount, your current epoch, and then of course over here on your MetaMask and your plugin to what's happening. Obviously you've got your stake rewards investing. So again, star-studded design, really good, I think, execution. And I think the thing with Illuvium is that they continue to just pack on the releases. Now, there's a couple of things that are going to happen early this year. You're going to have a lot of people that have been staked for a while that are going to vest out, and that is probably going to cause a certain amount of price reduction in the token, meaning ILV. However, with the amount of stuff that's happening right now and at the speed in which it's happening, I think we'll see a lot of people onboarding. So I don't know that we'll see any massive moves. If anything, we'll see little dips, and I'll show you some things in the chart here in a minute that kind of identifies this, and we pulled some sentiment data specifically on this that really leans into where Illuvium could be going in the short term, where I think it might be going in the long term. But this is another exciting project for Illuvium coming in 2022. Illuvitars, they're modular, configurable NFTs based on avatars for the Illuvium universe. And again, look at this. These amazing graphics that you're looking at here. These are the kind of things, as I've said, that will get people excited about how this is going to go. So another big one, I think, to really take a look at. Let's go over here and look also at finishing up the Auto Battler, which is going to be a new feature called Survival Mode, which will be available in testing in the private beta. Again, you know, this is fairly new. This post, I think, right here was just done on Jan 4th. Yep. Let me zoom in on that one a little bit as well. So you've got total waves, enemies in here, control points, total time, your scoreboard, and then, of course, the alluvials that you've used. So again, it gets into this whole gameplay that we've been talking about with Illuvium and why it's so special as a top-tier game. Could this be the #1 Metaverse game in a very short period of time? I think a lot of people will argue that Star Atlas, but Illuvium is so much further along. And if you look at Sandbox, it's a completely different kind of experience. This is, in my opinion, when you're trying to compare it to gameplay, whether it's something like Halo, or if you go look at things like Fortnite or other projects out there that are AAA, this is one of the few that can really kind of take it to that next level. I also wanted to jump a little bit here on Illuvium's roadmap, and just remember this right here, and that is lead investment, high framework, seed round close, 5 million in funding, partners see our vision, look at that partner group that we're talking about here, and that to me is just continued effort around where this is going. And this was last year. Look how far they've come since March. This was back in March. And how far Illuvium has come in less than a year in terms of what their overall program is going to roll out at. And if you look at this, first cinematic trailer, done. Yield farm contracts, done. August, September, the Auto Battler trailer, they've already moved that in, even though I think that's a little bit behind because the Battler is just now starting to roll. Then they've got the contracts in V2, most likely completed. Private beta, talking about that now in Q4, and Illuvium 0 just launched. So they were right on the heels of hitting that. We'll see the mobile release here this year, the public beta launch in Q1. That's going to be the next big one. And of course, the public beta, and then the second major Illuvium title. What I don't see on here is where they've been able to drop in land, which I think is interesting for them to be moving on this. So just as a whole, I think if you have not had a chance to get to the Illuvium white paper, get over, take a look at it. It's worth the read, especially if you're going to invest in it and look at this as a project. Remember, these are market movers. The kind of concepts that we do here on Market Movers are pretty straightforward. We give you a little bit of data research, our own insights, and our own opinions on how these projects might perform, but it's not investment advice. I am not an investment advisor. Don't ask me to give you investment advice. Now, I can tell you what I'm doing. I can give you the research that I've got, and that we've done. And then we can give you access to our own private indices fully free. Then you can go out and make your decisions on how you want to move forward. Let's jump to the chart, because this is something that has been going on for quite some time. We've been tracking this, and if you've been following our channel, you knew that we had made a recommended buy back here in this time frame right here in November when Illuvium was trading at 900. We also picked that one out when it was back here pre-October during Meta week, which was October 27th, when Facebook announced. That was when we really started saying, hey, we need to put some recognition on this. This is when Illuvium was still trading around 800. And then we saw this move up. We had Illuvium right here at 80 on the sentiment chart with a 71 score on the AMP. It moved sideways and then went vertical, of course. And that, of course, had a lot to do with just the overall performance of how that's rolling. And then, of course, the all-time high right here is where we saw the $1,900 price. And I think a lot of people looked at that and said, well, wait a minute, it's fallen, literally in half. And I think that is the whole point, is this is one of those projects that has the potential to double up easily because of all of what they're going to be doing in 2022. We pulled our next sentiment right here on the dip. That was 79.66, which still stayed fairly strong in terms of sentiment, even after a pretty significant fall off, because you're talking about, what was that right here? You're talking about, yeah, minus 39%. So that was a pretty significant fall off right there. We picked and laid our indices in. We called quite a bit of the forecast here rolling in. We missed that little candle coming out. And then that little bit of a drop before we pulled off that sentiment run, which we had pulled there. We got another one that's working right now. And this is essentially where we see Illuvium going. Let me kind of zoom in on this for you guys so we can kind of see where we're looking at Illuvium right now. 79.06, 78.83 on their AMP. So AMP is very tight, which tells me we're going to see a little sideways and potentially an upward move. So right now we have the low coming in here around 960, somewhere around January 7th, before we see a little bit of a jump back into the green for Illuvium, and I think we'll continue to see that. Again, land sale is going to be a big one next week. Hopefully we can get Kieran on the show to talk a little bit more about that. And because of that, this is maybe one of those times where you might be looking for entry points on Illuvium. Now, could it go a little bit lower once we see some of the vested tokens start to roll out? Yeah, it could. But I think that because of 2022's roadmap and just what they're going to release, it will recover quickly, and we could see anywhere between a $1,200 to $1,500 Illuvium in the first quarter. So that's the big one. The high that I've got right here towards mid-Jan, at best right now, is probably in the 1150 to 1195, but I'm looking more in this mid-range around 1050 to 1100, up from where we might want to be looking at a target insertion. This is essentially what I'm looking at right here on grabbing those in terms of that time frame right there is kind of where I'm holding on around Jan 7th. Now remember, this could be right before the land sale, so you're going to have, once I think land sale gets going, then boom, I think you're gonna see those kind of movements. All right, so let's jump over to the draft of where the parameters for Illuvium 0 and the land sale were put together. This again, remember, this may be dated. There may be something that's coming out a little, and watch their Twitter feed, watch the Reddit, and watch their Discord. We'll most likely see some more updates on this. But right now, a simple summary is Illuvium minigame, now officially called Illuvium 0. It'll be ready. Leading up to this, we must get approval on the details of the land. Remember, this is a decentralized project, so a lot of this is still in that kind of phase of getting these approvals. Following this, this release, 2 additional documents, one describing Illuvium 0 more in detail, and one on detailing how to buy land is going to be the next main thing. So I want you to watch for those. Pretty straightforward. It's going to have the land sales themselves will have a total duration of the sale of 3 days. They're putting out 278 plots in each batch. They're going to run this thing on a release batch of 1 per hour, 1 plot per hour. So you're going to get 278 per hour, and then if you run that over the 3 days, you get the total number of plots that they're going to offer which is this 20,000 right here in the first sale. Tier 1 right here is the one that we're talking about. So be on the lookout. Most likely this is going to be around a half an ETH. So when you go in and bid on these, if you are going in and looking at land sales, that's about going to be the floor price. And my recommendation, at least my strategy, is I'm going to try to go in at half a ETH and grab one of these early phases. Remember back on some of the images I showed you that really kind of get into the land. Let me see if I can pull that back up. Yeah, this shot right here. So this is really kind of the rendering of it, the model of what they're trying to do. But remember, as you start to see that phase of land, we're talking about land here in the red section, so to speak, of the game. So that is where you're going to have a chance to really kind of jump into this. So back over here to the tiers. Each plot of land will have limited details available for the purchase. There's 7 regions in total. Alluvial, affinity scanned. Then you've got tier 5. Tier affects the number of elements in the fuel sites. That was the one that I just showed you. And then element sites, an array of element sites containing details such as sites types and location. And then you can kind of go in and look at what we're talking about in terms of the overall sale. The land sale will be using a declining price model, which will be configured with a starting value that declines over a 2-hour period at a rate of 2% per minute. So this right here is going to be important to understand if you're looking at going in on land sale. So more data coming, lots more in the hopper, I think, with Illuvium. The point is that it's a solid project. There's lots of roadmap ahead of it. We've got a stellar team, an unbelievable financial backing, and we have an absolute deliverable product that is going to kill in the metaverse. And I think in general of blockchain play to earn, this could become the game of the year. If we see the awards at the end of the year, could Illuvium be the game of the year? It's very possible. Could it outpace something that's happening in Sandbox and Axie? These are all going to be very interesting. Good investments on all these. At least I'm invested in all 3 of these: Sandbox, Axie, Illuvium, Immutable X, and many of the other projects that circle in and around these kinds of details. So make sure, and if you're listening in over on the podcast, this is of course, the place to jump into is over here on the YouTube channel. You're going to get these charts, all these breakdowns, these Twitter feeds, all these beautiful graphics, the gameplay, all this stuff is happening over here on YouTube. So you got to get over here and join. And all you have to do is subscribe. You'll hit the bell notification, maybe drop a couple likes for us to kind of keep the channel understanding what you want to see and view. But also you can join into the Diamond Circle, and that is our free version of additional data. We are dropping an H-bar analysis this week and also a phantom analysis this week, so be on the lookout for that in the Diamond Circle, and we will continue to be ramping up. We just got a new team focused in on this, so lots of new stuff coming your way. If you want to reach me, hit me up on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.